more from Ole Miss and Wake Forest. Ole Miss, as is normally the case, got the ball to start the game. If they win the toss, they're going to take the ball. If they lose the toss, usually the other team is going to defer. Opening drive, 5 plays, 75 yards, a minute 23, and a touchdown. And it's just Ole Miss's ability to come out of the gate fast with scripted plays to start the game. Just, it's really impressive. They were going to score on their second drive before the high snap fumble, just kind of moving like a butter knife through warm margarine. And they give up a field goal. Is that not?
I mean, you had butter in the first part. Why not just butter?
Felt redundant.
Hot knife through butter is what.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
I'm aware.
All right, then go ahead. Continue.
Then a 2-play, 75-yard drive that lasted 34 seconds, and Jordan Watkins did not have a receiver inside or a defensive back inside the state of North Carolina that was covering him on that play. In fact, the touchdown call on television, it was like, throws it down the field, touchdown.
It's Lane
while
Kiffin's,
the ball's still in the air.
It's Lane Kiffin's greatest strength as an offensive coach. It's, the running games are always good. Quarterback development. I mean, he turned a running back into a quarterback that got Heisman votes when he was at Alabama. All that's true. The ability to scheme receivers uncovered he and Heupel does a really good job of it as well at Tennessee, but they are so good at that. I mean, everybody in the world knows that Jordan Watkins is such a reliable receiver, and Jackson Dart and him have a great relationship, and yet somehow they are able to get him so wide open that there's not a defender in the picture.
I happened to switch to that tab right as that play was happening Saturday night, and I was just like, how
all
is
the time.
Never mind. How is any player that wide open? And you're right, it happens all the time for Ole Miss. It's usually pre-scoring. Like, they find a way to lose the tight end. But he was just, any one of us could have maybe gotten him the ball there if we had the arm strength because he was just wide open.
So, drive chart for Ole Miss, touchdown, fumble, touchdown, punt, field goal, halftime. And then the second half, interception, first interception of the year for Jackson Dart, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, ball game. Ole Miss left easily 14 points on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't play well. Jackson Dart, after the game, described the mood in the locker room as disappointed. They won 40-6. That just kind of shows you, where they have, like, the mindset and the standard, the elevation of the standard in the program has gone. But 114 yards worth of penalties. The fumble, and they're on their way into the end zone. Dart also had a really bad interception, a rare bad decision from Jackson Dart.
Kind of a throw it back across your body, running to the left. It was not a good decision.
Throw that one into the third row and live to play another game. And then you mentioned it, should have had a touchdown that maybe that play should have gotten reviewed, but it would have been 4th and goal from about this far, like 3 inches from the goal line if he was not actually in the end zone. But he takes his helmet off to talk junk, and it's a 15-yard penalty, and they have to settle for a field goal. That they didn't play well, and they didn't play well and beat a Power 4 team on the road by 5 touchdowns.
He did take his helmet off to talk junk, or he took his helmet off and then started talking. But when your helmet gets driven down into the bridge of your nose and cuts you, it feels like that's a time where you ought to be able to take your helmet off. I don't know.
It's a pretty intense picture of the blood running down his nose, but that's the thing that I took away from this game the most is they didn't play well, and yet that's still the result that they left Wake with.
272 yards on the ground net, 377 through the air, and talking about not playing well when it's all said and done is, I guess, a good problem to have. 649 yards of total offense. They ran 79 plays, held Wake Forest to 311 yards, and in terms of rushing, a net of 46.
Yeah, and Wake Forest was under a yard per carry until the fourth quarter when they had some success, like late in the game with the third teamers, and they were like 0.8 yards per carry midway through the fourth quarter. Was Wake Forest?
Yeah. Wake Forest is certainly not a great football team. They're not a particularly good football team, but that's an ACC team full of scholarship athletes, and it's not like one team's got 85 scholarships and the other has 63. Anything. It was a 5-touchdown win on the road, not playing anywhere close to their best. Now, that said, man, dominance on the defensive line, 4 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, and honestly, you watched it. If Ole Miss didn't get home with 4 men, you're like, well, what happened there? We'll be back. Talked about the fact that because of what Wake Forest was doing, he was answering a question about Ulyses Bentley, who is still not playing much at all. It has been Henry Parrish and Matt Jones. And in his answer, he talks about the fact that it's not anything necessarily that Ulyses has done. It's the fact that those guys have been good. And, in this era when you're able to upgrade your roster, things happen and guys don't get to play. He said it's hard to argue with the results that we've had in the running game. And all of that is well and good. But he said something in there that said, we really didn't go to a third back because it wasn't a game that dictated that. And so I was thinking, okay, Ole Miss did throw the ball a lot, and it felt like there were points where they really threw it a lot, especially early in the ball game. And so I went back and looked at the numbers, and I was a little surprised to see that Ole Miss had 45 rush attempts in the game and only 34 pass attempts. So the distribution of carries was Henry Parrish 23, Matt Jones 7, Jackson Dart 6, Caden Lee 2, Ulyses Bentley 3 later in the game, J.J. Pegues 2, and Juice Wells had 1. I guess that was on a jet sweep deal. And then Jackson Dart was the only quarterback that played in the game. So if Lane Kiffin says to you that, hey, what was there was the passing game, it's what they were giving us. One, what does that mean? And I think I've got at least a partial answer to that, because if you look at some of the passing, after the game was over, Trey Harris said in the post-game interview with Brett Norsworthy on the radio, he said, we knew going in that their corners played soft, right? They were giving up a lot of ground. And so some of Ole Miss's running game was hitch routes to Trey Harris, who you then have a pretty physical runner in the open field, and it's like, okay, you're going to give him 5 yards, he'll take 5 yards. And he might give you a stiff arm and turn it into 11 yards or whatever. I know there's some unique stuff about what Wake Forest was doing defensively, especially in terms of how soft they were at corner and giving that cushion. Are we going to see an adjustment to the way teams are playing Ole Miss? Or can you make an adjustment? If teams are stacking the box, say, no, you're not going to run it on us, is that going to continue to be the case? Because Ole Miss is still, even with the numbers not in their favor, they are running it effectively. But they're getting a lot of easy throws in the pass game.
Yeah, I've wondered, too, if you're going to start seeing, like, over-aggression. Because if you're going to allow Dart and those receivers in that scheme to operate without pressure, well, then you're done. You're just done. You're not beating them. And so a part of me has wondered if you're going to start seeing a lot of, stacking the box and sending rushers from different places and trying to bring more than they can block and really get aggressive. South Carolina is aggressive by nature. They'll be really aggressive against Ole Miss, but I've been wondering if it's going to be everybody. Because if you're only going to bring 4 or 5 and let Dart sit in the pocket comfortably and deliver the football, you're going to lose. You are. They're going to beat you. Their third best wide receiver at the moment is Jordan Watkins. No, excuse me. No. Their fourth best wide receiver at the moment is Jordan Watkins.
It's Trey Harris 1, Juice Wells 2, Caden Lee 3. You might say Caden Lee 2 and Juice Wells 3. I don't know. In terms
Wells'
of talent,
explosiveness, though, it's just. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's what they have, and now they're playing 2 tight ends who are both capable in mismatches. They've got weapons, and so.
But okay, so here's the flip side to that. And hey, Dad, your football mind might weigh into this as well. I mean, if you're just talking about defending Ole Miss, period, and you say, you know what, we've got to get almost reckless in terms of pressure. You've got a 3-year starter sitting back there at quarterback who recognizes what's doing, and if you're bringing blitz in terms of 6 or 7, isn't that a scenario that Jackson Dart would welcome?
Any elite team, any team that is great offensively, you have to sometimes have to kind of pick your poison. You know, it's easy when you have a team. You know, a couple years ago with Mississippi State when they're in the air raid, you could say, all right, we'll drop 8 and we can limit what they do offensively. Or if you play a team, you know, like Navy, and you say like we're going to load the box and stop the run and we should be okay. Ole Miss is good at both, so you really have to pick your poison. If I'm playing Ole Miss, I am 100% trying to take Dart away. I'm going to do everything I can to just throw guys into coverage and say, hopefully, you know, if they want to run us to death, that's fine. But I'm not going to let Jack because one thing I believe about football is you should try everything you can not to let the best guy beat you. Dart's the best player. So don't let him beat you as much as you can. Now, the thing is, Ole Miss has the weapons. They're probably going to beat you anyway. But my philosophy would be like we gotta think stop the pass before we say stop the run.
To me, one of the things that Lane Kiffin has been really good about is if there's something that is working, he's willing to continue to do it. He doesn't have to show you how smart he is by saying, "Oh, well, we know we can do this. Now let's work on something else." So if you say, "All right, we're going to try and take away their passing game and make it hard on Jackson Dart," I think Lane Kiffin would be perfectly content to run it 60 times.
I agree. 100%.
For 450 yards.
But what's the other option? You take away the running game and he throws it for 450 yards? That's the problem with Ole Miss right now. That's the problem.
And I can't – part of me wonders – I know Kiffin said that there's no doghouse or anything with Bentley. So people are like, well, is he hurt? Well, if he's hurt, he's not playing on special teams and getting carries in garbage time. Part of me thinks that the doghouse that he could possibly be in, I've got no insight on this. If that's what's going on here, it feels like it. That'll end when the teams that they're playing get better. If there is some kind of internal punishment, I can't help but wonder if you're going to see more Bentley than Jones.
Although Matt Jones has been good. He's been good in the opportunities that he's had.
He has, and he's earned that, and he's got a really, really good story, but I mean, you can tell the difference when Parrish is carrying the football than when he is. And I know they're different backs body type wise, but Parrish is explosive in his vision. He has improved a lot since he left Ole Miss. He left Ole Miss and he came back, and whether it was whatever happened at Miami, but he's been with Kevin Smith for a while, so credit to Kevin Smith for it. His vision and decisiveness and pass blocking are very good. Like, people are just kind of dismissing, well, Parrish isn't as good as Judkins. And they're different backs. But if you think that guy's not a viable SEC running back that can put up big yards against a lot of people, you're crazy. He's really good. Is he elite? No, but he's really good.
These are the discussions that, and it pains me to say it, but these are the discussions that Alabama fans have been having the past few years. Like, you know, we're going to stop Bryce Young at the cost of what? That's what Ole Miss is right now. They're the two best offenses in college football, in my opinion, right now are Ole Miss and Tennessee. Those are the two teams.
It's interesting you say that because I was actually looking at the SEC offensive stats for this year through 3 games, and I know that Tennessee's played NC State. Like, I feel like we keep having to go, yeah, we know who Ole Miss is playing.
Let's just quit justifying it. The numbers are the numbers.
Ole Miss, through 3 games, has put up 2,076 yards of offense.
That's a ton.
Tennessee has put up 1,918 yards of offense.
Yeah, but Tennessee has played NC. I'm just kidding.
Ole Miss has done it 1303 through the air, 773 on the ground. Tennessee has gone 909 through the air, 1009 on the ground. Here's the difference. Ole Miss is now averaging 56 points per game. Tennessee is averaging 63.7 points per game. Oh, by the way, if you're keeping score at home, they scored more in the first half on Saturday night than they are averaging per game for the season.
It's incredible. NC State started the season ranked. They beat Western Carolina coming back in the fourth quarter, and then Louisiana Tech by 10. So NC State is probably on the same plane as Wake Forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Tennessee's going to smoke Oklahoma this weekend, by the way. I think they are going to
total agreement.
smoke them.
A total agreement with you.
Hey, Dad, Tennessee's going 11-1 and winning
looks better every day.
Yeah.
Which means our fishy line of the week is easy this week, right?
Is that where we're going to go? That's one of them I have on the list.
I mean, if you are that convinced that Tennessee is going to smoke Oklahoma this weekend, and there are a lot of people that think that is going to be the case, then how do you look at a point spread of 7 and not have that as the fishy line of the week?
Yeah.
I'm in because I don't like that one.
That's for tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
Let's give it another day.
We will get to that tomorrow.